it's pretty convincing to take a group of people that already have heart disease, then you put them on plant-based nutrition, and 99.6% of them get better.
I was about to ask you now, what's the percentage? 99.6? What?
Warning! This is our disclaimer. We are not medical experts. We are not giving you medical advice. Only your doctor can put you on or take you off of your medication. Check with your doctor before changing your nutritional program. We're providing education only.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? All you food fixers out there, welcome back to the Food Fixer Experience podcast. My name is Roland Vanetta.
And my name is Vince Roundtree.
And we are back here, and this is part 2 of my interview with Vince Roundtree. We're going to get into more details about his cholesterol and blood pressure and some different things like that, so that if you are out there and you know someone that has high blood pressure, you know someone that has high cholesterol, you know somebody with heart disease, this is kind of the thing that, as you discovered in the previous episode, that Vince that brought him to the knowledge of the food fixer lifestyle, whole food plant-based living. And so I'm going to scratch beneath the surface and try to get him to bare his soul to you today. And it's going to be fun. So, all right. So Vince Roundtree, to recap from last time, you told us about kind of the reason, you knew you had to do this for your daughter's sake, because you didn't want to die. And she needed her father. And so it was your responsibility to kind of be there for her and to make sure that she had what she needed. And the only way you could do that is to make sure that you were here for that to happen. And so tell me a little bit about why. So your cholesterol was the number one highest thing, right?
Right.
Okay. So what was it at the beginning?
So my cholesterol was 240. The total cholesterol number was 240, and the bad cholesterol, which is the LDL, was 170. Now, on the scale on what doctors consider your cholesterol should be, they say that it should be, they say ideal is below 200. And then they say between 200 and 240, they call that borderline. And anything over 240 or higher, they say is high cholesterol. And I say that's what they say because that scale really isn't the scale that we should be using.
Why do you say that?
Well, because it was based on the Framingham study, and they collected a lot of data in the Framingham study, and they came up with these guidelines. But the issue that I have with those guidelines is roughly 25% of people that have that get a heart attack, their cholesterol is below 200. So 200 should not be the guideline. How can they say if you've got a cholesterol of 190, that's fine, and you got a 25% chance of getting a heart attack?
Gotcha. So what you're telling me is, what you're telling us is there's probably a lot of people walking around out there that think that they have perfect cholesterol, but are still they still are at an increased risk of heart disease, but they've been told based on those numbers. So let me ask you this. Is it true that what's the number below with cholesterol that you virtually see no heart attacks? Is that even a thing? It is
a thing. And that number for total cholesterol is 150.
So if you're below 150 or below, which is way below what the kind of the guidelines are, right?
That's right.
Then you are virtually not very, 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 very unlikely to have a heart attack. Is that right?
Dr. Esselstyn calls total cholesterol below 150 without medication to get there, because it's different if you use medication to artificially get there. But if you have a total cholesterol of 150 and below without using medication to get there, Dr. Esselstyn calls that a group that is heart attack proof.
Okay. So that's his words. That's his words.
He said you're heart attack proof. You're not going to get a heart attack if your total cholesterol is below 150 without medication to get there.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you in a minute, what are the 4 or the 3 or whatever? I think it's 3, right? 3 things that make sure cholesterol is low, right? So if anyone's out there and they're listening to this right now, then we will, in this episode here in just a few minutes, break down the 3 things that we know for sure that has the best chance, if not 100% chance of at least lower. Because even if you have this, because I know there's this one genetic kind of abnormality, so to speak, that pretty much you're going to have high cholesterol no matter what. With that being said, even with those people, will those people still see a lowering effect if they do this?
I believe that they will, but it will not get to below 150. That's not going to happen. I mean, it still will be elevated. And the only way to know that,
a small amount of the population. We're not talking about like a huge percentage of the population, right?
Yeah, it's certainly less than 10%. I believe it's around 5-ish, or it's 5 or less. It's somewhere less than 5%. Yeah. But the only way for somebody to know if they're in that group is to go 100% whole food, plant-based, for at least for a month, and then check your cholesterol. And if it's still like 200 or something, then you can thank your parents for winning the lucky gene pool.
I think it was Dr. Neil Barnard that I was listening to in one of his podcasts, and he said, what he tells people when they're getting ready to check their blood, to go whole food plant-based, and then 8 weeks later, specifically, he says about 8 weeks is kind of like the magic number to really seeing massive changes. Now, some people see those massive changes within a week or 2 weeks or, a month, but like 8 weeks is like really, really solid. Will give you a really good solid basis. I mean, that's what we saw with Sandra, when we were coaching her, and she had the biggest that we've ever seen drop. Right?
Yeah. Hers was bigger than mine. Yeah.
Yeah. And it dropped more than yours.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Her drop was bigger than mine. She started off higher and ended up lower.
And interesting, because she was actually a vegetarian prior. She wasn't even a meat. She was a vegetarian, and she had such high cholesterol. And so many people were, well, I don't eat that much meat. Blah, blah. She wasn't eating any meat.
Right. But how many eggs was she eating a day?
I don't know how many. She said she was eating a lot, and she said she submerged everything in cheese. That was her phrase.
That's right. She said, I didn't eat cheese. I submerged things in cheese. Yes, she was not happy with us when we took away her eggs and her cheese.
What was that you would always do this, and she always got tickled out of you doing it? Will you do it, Vince? So when you first, because you had a private conversation with her, right?
Yeah.
How did she put it when you said that she's not going to be able to have eggs anymore and no more cheese?
Well, see, you and I had separate conversations with her one-on-one.
That's true.
And you had it with her first, and then I had a conversation with her second. And so by the time I spoke with her, you had already spoken with her. And so I think you had probably said that she can't have that cheese is contributing to her problem.
Oh yeah, because we had talked. I remember that, because this was early in, before we created Food Fix University. We were in the process of creating it.
That's right.
And so we were taking everyone's calls personally at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have, the master class didn't happen regular basis. It was in its beginning stages, right? People didn't, and so I had to call them we didn't even have an offer to say like, this is what it is. So we got him on the phone and we were talking to him. Bless you, in advance. I didn't hear you. You muted yourself, but I saw. But I talked to her, and I remember her telling me I'm already vegetarian. I was like, huh. But then I started talking, and she was eating so many eggs and so much cheese, and I told her, and she was pretty resistant to the idea of getting rid of it. But then she got on the phone with you. She made the decision. She said she can do it because, her biggest goal was to make sure that she could play with her grandkids, go hiking. So she wanted to go hiking with her grandkids, because prior to her stroke, she was able to. And then she had lived with the effects of her stroke for 4 years, I think it was. And she was having trouble just having enough energy to take a shower. And she was like, if I could just get back to hiking with her grandkids. And of course, 12 weeks later, I don't know if it was 12. It was at some point in time. She sends me the picture with with herself, like literally in the woods with her grandkids. I think that was I tell you what, Vince, that was one of my most exciting moments. Because I remember the conversation of her saying that that's what she wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And it just seemed so far-fetched and unlikely.
It did.
And then suddenly she sends a picture in the woods with her 2 grandkids, like that. That was
yes.
Okay. Anyway, I digress. I didn't mean to go off on that. This is about you, but it's just, of course, that's part of results of your coaching. But
well, that's our coaching. I mean, and she made an incredible transformation. And yeah, her cholesterol, I believe her total cholesterol may have been 290 to start with.
That's what it was, but I was afraid to say that. I just know.
And I believe it went down to like 130.
130. I do remember what it went down to. I just don't remember what the original starting was.
Mine started at 240 and went down to 132.
Oh.
So her high was higher than mine and her low was lower than mine. So it was a beautiful thing to see her results.
That happened in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Because she took her blood work at the very beginning, and then literally 8 weeks later she went and took it again, and it had dropped. I mean, what percent? I mean, how many hundreds of points?
I don't know, but I know that that's a huge drop, and so the fact that she's now pretty much
over 100 points drop. I mean, it was just
crazy. for sure.
So back to this, with this cholesterol business, and can you talk a little bit more about what you were talking about? This I can't remember what you called the study, but they have these parameters. And even people that are within the guidelines are still having heart disease. And so you see a lot of these people, I can only imagine that people point to that and say, well, then that means that cholesterol is not a factor of heart disease if people within the guidelines are still having heart disease.
Yeah, it means the guidelines are wrong. No, we know for a fact that means the guidelines are wrong. The guidelines are wrong. The guidelines should be 150 and below is ideal. But the reason why they wouldn't do that, I think, is because then the vast majority, because the only people pretty much who are below 150 are people who are plant-based. If they made the guidelines 150 for total, then probably 95% of Americans would be considered high cholesterol. Yes. It's like the normal, in fact, I think something like the normal average cholesterol in this country is something like 180, 190 is like average. So, but the number one cause of death in this country is heart disease. So the moral of the story is you don't want to be normal in the US. You don't want to be normal because normal people die of heart disease and they don't have to.
And it's the number one cause of death.
And
so the guidelines at preventing them, it's obviously at least not preventing them to the point at which we would like, being the number one cause of death. But what you're telling me is Esselstyn says, based on his research, that you are heart attack proof. And that's not us saying this. This is Esselstyn, the guy doing the studies. That heart attacks are virtually unheard of at people with cholesterols under 150. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. And there's that's exactly what he's saying. And there's two ways of looking at it, right? So there's observational data, or what we call epidemiological data, right? Where observations, where you can observe.
Let's break that down. What do you mean by that specifically?
So so that is looking at what people, so look at people who have had a heart attack and then look back at their life, right? So you're making an observation. That's not an interventional study. So observation can only show associations. So it can't prove cause and effect.
Yeah, because I was actually watching.
I
was actually watching a podcast with Dr. Joel Furman, and he was having a debate with a, I guess, a paleo type, carnivorous type, and the carnivorous type was getting upset because a lot of the studies that Dr. Furman was citing was observational data,
Observational,
rather
yeah,
than interventional.
right, and that's because an observational study cannot prove this is the cause, this is the effect.
Because you're
But
seeing
we have,
it could be faulty association, because like association doesn't necessarily breed causation. You know?
exactly. So you can say, well, high cholesterol causes heart disease. Well, maybe everybody that has heart disease causes your cholesterol to be high, right? Which one is
Exactly.
it?
Exactly.
And you can't through an observational study, you can't conclude. But through an interventional study that you can design, where you randomize people in two different groups, and they don't know what's the control group, what's the placebo group, and you put them through, then you've got a much better idea. And Esselstyn has done something similar to that. It wasn't a randomized blind study, because you can't, because people are eating plant-based or they're not. But what he did
know
do,
they're eating plant-based when they're eating
exactly. So it can't be a randomized double-blind placebo, because you know what you're eating. So that kills the double blind.
It's literally impossible. It's impossible to placebo control.
Right. But what he did do is take people that have heart disease, then put them on plant-based nutrition, and the vast majority of them got better. Now, there will be scientists that say, well, I mean, that's not a blind study. Yeah, but it's pretty convincing to take a group of people that already have heart disease, then you put them on plant-based nutrition, and 99.6% of them get better.
I was about to ask you now, what's the percentage? 99.6? What?
We've got pretty strong data on that. And then
if someone's listening to this right now and someone said, okay, you can have like a 68 or 70% chance of being okay, or you can have a 99.4% chance of getting better. You're sent home to die, but you have a 99.4% chance of getting better, but it's not double-blind placebo controlled.
Exactly.
Every time we've ever done it, we get the 90% of people getting better. Which one would you choose?
Exactly. And that's what that data shows. So that's why you and I, and most of the people that do this are so supportive of the work that Dr. Esselstyn has done.
It works. And you could argue whether we know exactly why it works or why it doesn't work, but it works. And the fact that it works, and then you see that association of cholesterol being under 150, because out of those, now I don't know this, you tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, and you may not even be able to answer this, but out of those people in Esselstyn's studies that always get better, the question is their cholesterol under 150?
Yeah, that I don't know. But I would more than likely say no. I'm sure there's people whose cholesterol, or I would bet money there's people whose cholesterol is not below 150, is between 150 and 200. Almost for sure there will be people, because there are people, there are people that can go 100% plant-based and their cholesterol will not get below 150. And Esselstyn tells those people, don't worry about it. If you are eating a 100% unprocessed plant-based food diet and your cholesterol is 180, you say don't worry about it. You are doing what you need to do in order to prevent the buildup.
So then the question is, then I guess that would make, then you would say that cholesterol is merely a signpost to let you know if you're in the right direction, but not a definitive answer whether or not. Because I mean, there's you can not get a heart attack and have high cholesterol too. It doesn't necessarily mean just because you have high cholesterol, you're guaranteed 100% to have a heart attack.
That's right.
So, and so with that being said, but at least we know that it seems to be a really good signpost on whether your heart disease is getting better or worse on that cholesterol spectrum. Would you say that's true or not?
That's right. No, cholesterol is a very good measure. We do know that that cholesterol is absolutely a risk factor for heart disease and stroke. There's no denying that.
Cool. Okay. So with that being said, so you can hear me, right? I muted my.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the case, now we're down to if someone's watching this right now, what are the steps that will guarantee? I can't say guarantee. That will most likely in all that is the best option that we know of on planet Earth at lowering their cholesterol. And in the vast majority of cases, it always works. Not in every case, but in the vast majority of cases.
The way I like to describe it is, how do you give your body the best possible fighting chance to lower cholesterol as best it can? Yeah. And what you need to do to give your body the best possible chance of lowering cholesterol is eat a 100% unprocessed plant-based food diet.
Now that's that's you got to flesh that out, because when someone says plant-based diet, okay, well that means, okay, I'm not going to eat my cheeseburgers anymore. But that unprocessed part that you just said is the game changer.
Is a huge part of it. I didn't say
it's
a
not
vegan
going
diet.
Vegan. We're not talking about veganism here, right? Now, whole food plant-based is vegan. Now, we can't dive into that like crazy tonight. I want to, but there's no way we can do that right now. Because that's a whole other episode. So we'll say that for a future episode. But here's my question. So right now, what are the 3 things that we know raises cholesterol, and what are the 3 ways that we know gets rid of cholesterol?
So here's what is important. If you have high cholesterol, please pay attention to this. If you have high cholesterol and you want to lower it without pills, then it is imperative for you to not eat anything that comes from an animal. No meat, cheese, fish, dairy, eggs. Stay away from ice cream, from sour cream, from anything that's got cow's milk in it. No fish, no crabs.
And that also goes to, bottles and ranch dressings and things like that. That's got buttermilk in it. It's got milk in it. And it's got, they even put just casein, right? Which is a casein protein that comes directly from cow's milk. All of those things, of those things have cholesterol in them. That
is the number one thing to do, is to eliminate all animal-based products. Now, why do I say that?
You're going to that. Cool.
The reason why you want to eliminate all animal-based products is because there is a direct link. If you eat any animal, if you eat chicken, if you eat the free-range chicken, if you eat the organic eggs, if you eat fresh venison meat that has been in the wild, right? If you eat grass-fed beef, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're eating an animal, then you are consuming saturated fat. You can't, I don't care if it's the leanest, there's saturated fat embedded in the muscle. Saturated fat causes your liver to make the bad cholesterol, LDL cholesterol. So if you're eating anything that's got animal product in it, it's kind of like you're putting your foot on the gas to make extra amounts of LDL cholesterol. And you don't want that. You don't want that. So when you eliminate all animal-based products, you take your foot off the gas and your liver starts to slow down the production of bad cholesterol. That's step number 1. Number 2, all animals have cholesterol. All animals have cholesterol. 0 plants have cholesterol. All animals have cholesterol. If you take any product in the grocery store and you turn around the back and look at the nutrition label, if the cholesterol is 0, there's going to be no animal product in there. If the cholesterol is anything other than 0, then there's probably some dairy, there's some type of animal product in it. Well, since all animals have cholesterol, when you eat any animal, you are also eating their cholesterol. Now, how much of their cholesterol gets into your bloodstream, we don't know, but it's not 0.
So let me stop you for just a second.
All right.
So when you're eating another animal's cholesterol, so it's their own livers are making their own cholesterol, right? So
Exactly.
the same reason that you're talking about, we have to have cholesterol, right? Cholesterol is a type of fat that our body makes that we have to have for our brains to function, for everything to function. So,
And it makes
too much of it causes a really big problem, right?
Exactly.
So here's the question. If someone has high cholesterol, does it not stand to reason that if you're putting another creature's cholesterol inside you, that's probably not a good idea? So
you don't want to.
You're already making too much, but then you're adding, because you're eating animals which have high levels of saturated fat. So the body parts of animals have high saturated levels of fat. They have saturated fat. There's no way you can escape that. So animal product, the body parts and the hormonal secretions and the mammary gland fluids and the secretions that comes out of animals that are stuffed in all kinds of products have saturated fat in it. That makes your liver increase its cholesterol production. It ramps it up. Plus on top of that, it's literally you're consuming, because that creature also has cholesterol in its body, because its liver also makes cholesterol. And so on top of you ramping up your own cholesterol, you're actually partaking and just voluntarily putting extra cholesterol directly into your body. The amount of which is absorbed in the bloodstream, we're not sure. But I mean, you're putting it in your body. And so that's the first 2 ways that it gets eliminated. The 2 reasons why cholesterol goes high gets eliminated with that. What's the third one?
The third is that your liver naturally will filter out excess hormones in your body. The liver, as your blood flows through your liver will filter out excess cholesterol. And it pulls excess cholesterol out of the bloodstream, sends it down the bile duct, into the duodenum, then to the
duodenum. That's a funny word.
It is a funny word. The duodenum is the end of the stomach, and it connects the stomach to the small intestines. And so excess cholesterol is pulled out of the bloodstream, down the bile duct, into the duodenum, that then flows to the small intestines and then into the large intestines. And that cholesterol is waiting for you to eat some fiber, and that high fiber food then absorbs that excess cholesterol in the intestines and you excrete it out. That's the body's natural mechanism for getting rid of high cholesterol. The body's got a way of doing that, but it requires
one thing, don't it?
That you eat ample fiber. And where do we get ample fiber? Unprocessed plant-based foods. So beans, lentils, split peas, chickpeas, potatoes, corn, squash, unprocessed plant-based foods are high fiber foods. 97% of Americans, hear that number, 97% of Americans are deficient in fiber.
Now let's stop there for just a second. So you're telling me if there's 100 people, 100 Americans in a room, 97 of them are fiber deficient. They don't have, everybody's worried about not enough protein, not enough calcium, not enough this, not enough that. No one talks about fiber.
No one.
97% of the people in there. And this goes back to your point. It's normal to not have enough fiber in your diet.
That's right.
But it's also normal to have a cholesterol way higher than 150.
That's exactly right.
And so we see heart attacks not happening in under 150. And so who wants to be normal?
And so we can see why most Americans have high cholesterol.
Yeah.
Because how many Americans, what percentage of the Americans eat meat, cheese, fish, dairy, eggs? Most of them. What percentage of Americans are deficient in fiber? 97%. So the combination of eating a very high animal-based diet of chicken, of fish, of beef, of pork, since most Americans eat animal-based foods and most Americans are deficient in fiber, that means that they are eating in a way that their liver makes more cholesterol, then they are eating the cholesterol of the animal, and then they're not getting enough fiber, which helps their body get rid of excess cholesterol. And the result is most Americans have elevated cholesterol, and most Americans will solve that by taking a statin.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to break down next class. I want to break down what exactly statins do and what it actually, if people are on blood, high cholesterol medication, like what it actually does. But we have extended our time period, and I actually have to get to an appointment with my wife, and so I'm leaving right now. And so we got to close out this episode, but looking forward to seeing y'all next time. Tune in next time. You're going to love the next episode, and we'll dive into something. And I know in future episodes, we're going to dive into diabetes, all kinds of different things, rheumatoid arthritis, all kinds of different things. Listen, if you're enjoying this, we have a workshop, a free masterclass that you can join. It happens typically on Thursdays. We also have a weight loss challenge that we put on that's absolutely phenomenal. In future episodes, we may give you information on that. But just know, keep on tuning into these episodes, and the knowledge that you're getting here is going to transform your life. Okay. And y'all have a fantastic day. Okay. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.